Okay, live stream, got it. All right, now my words at the top say meeting is now live stream. So looks like we are live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, how's everybody doing? How y'all doing out there? I understand y'all are freezing to death there in Kansas City, and it's only going to get worse.
Yes, we are.
It's like,
Let's see, what is our temp at the moment? It's 20 degrees and it feels like, I love when they do that. Feels like 7. I don't know. I can't tell what's 7 and
I
what's
know,
20.
like, what? It's like, okay, I don't want to freeze.
It feels
that bad,
colder.
right?
Yes. But we're supposed to warm up to 24.
Oh, heat wave. Oh gosh. So I am trying to, y'all talk a little bit about what's going on there. I'm going to see if I can't get myself over to where I can at least find us over on my Facebook tab. So what do you have going on this week? It is Christmas week. So either one of y'all hop in.
Go
We're
for it,
going up-
Lisa.
We're going up to Utah, hopefully, if the snowstorms don't stop things, but we're going up to Utah to have Christmas with our kids up there.
Oh, nice.
What are you doing?
What about you, Laura?
We're staying put in Kansas City. We're hunkering down. We're actually we do a charcuterie board for Christmas, and so originally we're going to go get our stuff on Friday, but I told the kids we have to go on Wednesday because Thursday and Friday are going to be snow and very cold, like below 0. So yeah, as soon as we get all of our food, we're not going anywhere.
You got to stay in where you can be warm.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So I'm wanting to see. Okay. So I am not sure here. All right. I'm not sure right now. I don't see. So if somebody will leave us a comment, I'm going to try to navigate this like I did last week. And
Yeah,
Lisa,
no, I found us
on.
live.
You are live. Yeah, you are
I
live.
think
You
that
went
we are
live as soon as it-
live. I was just, there we go. Lisa, there we go. I just wanted to make sure if somebody made a comment, I could actually see it. So woohoo. I love it when I do 2 things at once. It's like, as women, don't we do about 10?
So how warm, I'm curious, Laura, how warm is your greenhouse in this negative or feels like weather?
Well, I don't have anything planted yet. So it's about 5 to 10 degrees warmer right now. When the sun shines, it kicks up about 20 degrees because it's sealed very well. I'm more concerned about the humidity because right now it's 27 degrees according to my thermometer. And it's 80% humidity. So I'm like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I could open it up and blow out the humidity, but then that brings in, it's pointless because I don't have anything growing.
Yeah.
Crazy. Wow. So it's probably that humidity factor that makes it feel even so much colder.
Yes,
Oh my
definitely.
gosh.
Yes.
Like to the bone.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the biggest piece on this greenhouse is keeping the humidity at a level that the plants aren't going to get mold, mildew, rot, all of those kinds of things when I get to that point.
Yeah.
So, and that's the learning curve because there's a whole, new horizon of vapor, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just want to grow my plants in an area that's a little bit warmer than outside. So we'll see.
Oh, gosh. Right. So yeah, I think you've been on a big learning curve for this last couple of years, right?
Yeah, past year especially, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, we are having just a very quiet week. Obviously, we are not traveling because we already did our travel, and still some lingering little issues with the whole sickness stuff. So, all right. So this morning we're going to talk about light. And one of the things I think that's so fun about Christmas is when we don't have very many here. I just remember Kansas City. has so many beautiful places, including the plaza, where you could just drive around and see just all those beautiful lights, and how, at night when those lights just, they're just on, but it feels like they're sparkling, and it's, I just love that, the lights of Christmas. And, I've watched about 100, I don't know how many Hallmark movies, and in the middle of the movie somewhere, they have the town lighting of the Christmas tree. I mean, I could almost write a script because they're all the same. There's a certain things, they always have gingerbread and they always have the hot chocolate. And then they always have the town lighting of the Christmas tree. So everybody's waiting, and then the lights go on, and light is so powerful. And so as we are in Christmas week, it is the perfect week to talk about Jesus being the light of the world. This is a dark world. We know it's a fallen world since the beginning of, the garden. We've been a fallen world. And I'm going to read just right out of I love the book of John. And it just, I don't know, it's just one of my favorites. And so this is one of the places where it says about Jesus being the light of the world. It says, in the beginning, this is John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing made that was made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend or understand it. So when you think, when we take these moments, and usually through Advent, very often light is one of the weeks where they talk about light. So when you think about light and Jesus being the light, well, where does that take you? What do you think about in that regard? What about you, Laura?
I guess that's me. Where does that take me? Well, I always think of okay, the little scientific, I guess I could go first with, dark. Always, light is the absence of dark. You can't stop light, but you can stop the darkness with light. So, yeah. And the past couple of weeks, I've had a lot of Bible studies on purpose, and we were created with a purpose before we were even, God knew us before we were born. We were created for a purpose. What is that purpose? To shine his light, to glorify him, glory. All of those are light words. You can't be glorified or be in glory without the thought of light. And then as a believer in Jesus, he saved us from ourselves. Man didn't start off good. And like you say, darkness and evil are in the world, but we are supposed to be different and set apart. And really, light is set apart from the darkness, because the darkness can't exist when there's light around. That's my take.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and it's just so true. When you think about, you walk into a dark house or a dark room, the first thing you want to do is get rid of that darkness, right? Because you can't see anything. You don't know. I mean, if it's your own room, you know what's in there. But like you say, if you're going into someplace else, to flip that switch or turn the flashlight on your phone, something to dispel that darkness and bring the light in.
Yeah. I have a story from when my kids were really little. Michael, I mean, it wasn't Michael, it was Derek, was 3 years old or 4 years. Well, no, it would be 4 years old. And we were driving on this thing and talking about Christ and different things. And we were talking about shadow of turning and different scriptures of that nature. And all of a sudden, Derek said, God doesn't have a shadow. And I thought, was it? Oh, yeah, God does not have a shadow. Well, yeah, of course, I guess he does not have a shadow. and it was one of those things where it's like from a child's mouth, you'll be taught type things. And it was really profound to me thinking about that God emanates light. So there is no shadow around him. He is light. And so we can trust that we won't ever be left in the dark when we're closer to Christ. So that's my 2 cents this morning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like you say, pretty profound coming from a young child. I can tell you, I've never thought of that myself. Like,
Well, at first we were like, oh, no, he doesn't. So it was really cute.
it really is. Yeah. That the just how one, how one candle in a room, and before we had electricity and all that, in the world, people did, use candles and the fireplace, the light from a fireplace to do. And you think, gosh, how did they read dear? Now, I mean, I have to have a lot of light when I read, right? But you think like, when they used to just read just by that candlelight, but how much even one candle can bring that light out in a room. And it's I don't know about y'all, but every time I see the pictures of or whatever where they have all these candles lit in a room and just how beautiful that looks. And I think that's us. We are the candles. We are the light in the darkness. And it's kind of the more of us that are together, man, we're dispelling a whole bunch of darkness when we get together. And I think that's part of the power of the light, and that is Jesus in us. And we go back to the garden, and it's like, when you think about it, from the very beginning, I mean, obviously God gave us the gift of life. Okay, so first of all, he created us, but when he gave us choice, when he gave us free will, what a gift that was. It's the gift that got us in trouble. It's the gift that still can get us in trouble based on our decisions. But we can choose to be the light. And, so let's talk a second. What do you think? What does that mean for us to be the light?
Well, I know I was talking before, but I'll go with something I saw the other day. I was watching a show about living in the 17th century, and they would have candles. There's a group doing an experiment where they're living in this as if they were in the 17th century. So wow. They brought in candles, and one of the things that people did was they would bring a magnifying or a glass shaped like a magnifying glass, and they would bring it and prop it up in this little tool in front of the candle, and it would focus the light on their knitting or whatever they were doing. And I thought, wow, that is so hard compared to what we do. But then if you think about it, that's a lot about what we do with Christ's light, is that we can be that magnifying lens. The light coming from him, we can radiate that and point it on points of darkness and be the light in the darkness. We can extend that light through our actions and through our ministering and our love and other examples and things like that.
I agree. Yeah. And I also think of the action piece of it, of what sets us apart. That kind word, I always use a grocery store checker person example, but it's that kind word, or it's the not reacting in the chaos. Because really, when you think about who's our anchor, God is our anchor. He never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. His promises are always true. All of the things. Are we really living that? We give it lip service, but are we living that? To be an example would be to live that as best we can. Of course, we're human. We're going to fail. We're going to react. But can we be consistent in our walk, and also being fearless and standing in him, and being kind and loving towards others? Mm-hmm. Did I miss anything?
Nope, that was good.
No, that's great. That's great. And I think that's true. And I think it all often is, and we've talked about this numerous times too, that so often it is the small things. It is the smile and the nod and the pat on the back or the shoulder, or, just sometimes those little things can be so powerful when we share that with other people. And by the way, I'm going to, I made a commitment last Tuesday of how we talked about how when the spirit prompts you to do something, and sometimes we act and sometimes we don't. And I told y'all one of my cousins had been on my mind, and I wrote it down, but I'm sure it took me till Saturday, y'all, but I did finally do it. And she said to me, she said, thank you so much for calling right at the beginning, before we even started talking. She says, so often I think of that, and I think of different people in the family. She says, I just never follow up on it. She said, so thank you for actually following up. And I said, well, God's been prompting me for a week now. So I said, I made a commitment. It's like, so I'm so happy to talk to you. And then we talked for an hour and a half. So, it was great. It was great catching up with her. And so I think sometimes, it's the small things, whether the phone call is the right thing, is sometimes just, a text message is not very personal, but it's better than nothing. It's a way, I'm just thinking of you, or you were on my mind today, Merry Christmas. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to write a book. And I think sometimes we think, oh, well, what am I going to say? Even or an email, if you want to do that, or handwritten card is really awesome. And that is not one of my top. I love them. I totally support them. I think it's fabulous. But for some reason, that is not on my follow through list very much. I just don't get those. I don't get those cards out. But I know I love receiving them, right? So it's that thing. What about you guys? Good morning, Karen.
I actually yesterday reached out to somebody on Messenger and just said, hey, I'm glad we've crossed paths and it's been fun. I'm looking forward to next year, happy holidays. So, just the little things.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not much on getting cards out. That's not my thing. But my thing is this keeping track of people all year round and calling and doing different things like that with my family. In my family, I'm known as the one who calls everybody. So and when they call me, I say something like, what's going on? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't think that it has to be very big things like you said. And believe it or not, there's some people who like text messages over other things. That's just the way they like to communicate. So I would leave those open for spiritual promptings. I have people because in our church, we're assigned several families to minister to. And so in my assignments, I often will text a message, how you doing, what's going on? And sometimes we have midnight conversations on Facebook, and that's how I minister to that person. And yet they'll come up in church and give me a great big hug. I'm so glad you talked to me, I needed that. And communication right now is different than it used to be, but it's okay in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think any kind of personal contact is okay. I mean, and oftentimes,
well, I'm like you. I think that it's better to be in person, but it's still like we're so busy. Sometimes getting in person can be very difficult to nail people down.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think really trying to be in person, it is not just difficult, but so oftentimes just not really a reality, particularly like if you live in different parts of the country or whatever that is. This little gal, y'all remember we had Vitalina on, 6-7 months ago, and she, we've been trying to talk to each other, Zoom, once a month. So we made an appointment on our calendar to do that. And this last Friday was our day. And she sent me a message that she just wasn't feeling up to it. She wasn't feeling good. And so we didn't. And then she reached out a couple days, like Monday, I think maybe that was yesterday, right? That she was doing better. And she says, I'm still trying to do my studies, but y'all keep her in your prayers. She says, sometimes we don't have power. We don't have, obviously they don't have power. They don't have internet. They don't have heat in there. And she said, so she said, she didn't say pray for me, but she let me know. And I said, well, I will be praying for you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I get to thinking my sometimes inconvenience, right? Like, wow, we have nothing to complain about. Here she is with war going around her, sometimes doesn't have heat or power or anything. And yet she keeps this sweet little attitude of trying to keep up with her studies. Y'all know, if y'all recall, she's in her first semester of college. So anyway, she just, she sent Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think too, of course, things have changed and we are more, online video Zoom based than face to face. Which, maybe I could speak for the three of us, we were so used to face. That's how we, but the next generation is more, well, they text. I can remember when my daughter went to college, I said, did you talk to did you talk to your roommate on the phone? No, I texted her. I'm like, don't you want to talk to her on the phone? Well, I'll see her when I see her when we move in. Yeah. So it's a different, things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're saying, anything, whether it's a Zoom call, a text, an email, a message, or if you have a person that likes face to face, that's, I think as being set apart, we should be flexible and not so stuck in the mud on just one thing.
Yeah. I find banana bread communicates really well though.
That's a good communicator. I think you need to pop that in the mail.
Yeah.
What was that, Lisa? I didn't catch that.
I said, I find that banana bread communicates well with a lot of people.
Oh, yes. So I had actually my real estate agent sent a message the other day, and we do still have our house listed, and y'all can pray about that too if you want. It's like if it sells, like I finally decided I'm going to quit complaining about it, and I just said, okay, Lord, did I say this last week? I can't remember.
It's okay.
Basically, whatever. I'm not going to whine or complain or say I want to move or don't say I want to move. Whatever it is, Lord, it is yours. I'm giving it to you. I'm not going to think about it. I'll do what I can. The house is on the market, right? So anyway, which has nothing really to do except my agent sent a text message just a few days ago, and she said, go outside your front door and look on top of your nutcracker. So we have this big nutcracker out by the door. And I went out there and she had this little plate of baklava. Now, I have to tell you, I never really have liked baklava. It's just so sticky and messy or whatever. But this woman, I am telling you, for the last several years, I've gotten her baklava, and it is so amazing. It's not made with honey. She sent me a little note because I said, I don't know how you do this. The best I've ever had. There were like 8 pieces, and I had to control myself to save some of them for the next day. They were just little pieces, but they're Mediterranean. So Mediterranean baklava, which is pronounced different, is made different. So she's going to send me the recipe. But it was just the point is, this nice little treat that she delivered to my doorstep. Now that was going out of her way, besides the fact she cooked them and gave them to people, but then just dropped it on the doorstep, so to speak. And so, it's amazing the little things. Again, I'm not one of those make cookies and brownies and all that kind of stuff, but we each have our ways that we can shine our light, right? So, and that really is the point. Just looking for ways where we can just be a little light in somebody's life, and it can make such a huge difference.
Definitely.
Laura, are you a baker person?
Well, I used to own a baking business, so that probably kind of tells you a little bit.
Well, gosh, girl, easy.
Many years ago. Yes, I actually am in my truffle phase of getting ready. So I actually dipped some peanut butter truffles last night, and chocolate cookies are tonight, and I will be bringing some of those with me to my Bible study tomorrow because I will eat them all if they sit in the house any longer. But I set aside a little bit for Christmas, and then the kids and I do cutouts and, you know, other cookies. So yes, I'm a baker.
Oh my gosh. So I found out something new about you. I didn't know that. You know, I guess now say you're still so young, Laura.
Well, you know, 29, I know I've got a ways to go.
But how have you done so many things in your life as young as you are?
I'm just, you know, I'm an A action personality. You know, we like to do 10 things at the same time at 90 miles an hour.
At 90 miles an hour. I know. There's Mara. Mara, good morning.
After we've hit 29 3 times, we've had time.
We'll slow down maybe a little bit.
The funniest thing Kathy said to me when I had one of my birthdays last year, she said, "Oh, you're celebrating." I'm sure she's the one that said this to me. "Oh, you're celebrating your the second anniversary of your 35th birthday." And it's like, oh, I kind of like that. That sounds better than the real number, right? So anyway, the things we do. And then Lisa, you do like your banana bread, right? Do you do other kind of baking stuff?
I am not.
Cookies?
So I am more of a cook than a baker, but I'm slowly learning. Paul the other day said to me, "Don't worry, 6 or 7 times you'll have it down." So I do bake a mean banana bread, but that's basically because it's pretty much foolproof. Anything else is fair game. For whether
Thank
it
you,
makes
honey,
it.
for your support, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have found, you know, speaking of cooking and baking, you're either one or the other, or none, or none.
Or
You know,
none.
I mean, we won't talk about the person that doesn't like to be in the K room. So I'm going to be, I'm
She
going to be in
does happen
trouble.
to be on the show, but you know, we won't point her
Yeah.
out.
Like I'm a pretty good chef, but as far as like bakery goods go, and a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference, but
There is, and in baking, as a baker, I need a recipe. I can't wing it when I cook.
yeah.
Unless it's Italian, and I grew up,
Yeah.
I'm part Italian, so I grew up in that.
Yeah.
So it's natural, but outside of that, I'm like, where's the recipe?
Yeah. And
So-
everybody who asks like, "Oh, what's your recipe for that, you know, food that you just made?" And I'm like, dash
I don't know.
this
Yeah.
and some stuff. Whatever I had in my fridge.
That was my mother. She could put spaghetti and meatballs together, and her sauce was just fantastic. And my sister and I were like, "Mom, what's the recipe?" "Well, I don't know. It's a pinch of this," and we still, after all of these years, can't copy it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's and of course, when people cook that way, every time it's always good, but it's always a little bit different because of that. Usually it's not exactly the same, which is kind of a good thing. I am going to try, no, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do it, but it's sort of trying my hand or whatever. So I love pecan pie, and people are terrible at making pecan pie. I mean, you know, I'll try a piece here and there through the holidays, and I don't know what they're doing, but they are so messing up pecan pie. Cracker Barrel does make good pecan pie, just in case anybody wants to know. So I pulled out my Southern cookbook, and it's like the easiest recipe in the world. So I'm gonna do that this week because I bought the crust. Okay, I'm not gonna start with trying to make crust. So I'm gonna make, you know, just put a crust, do an already made crust. And I think it has 4, maybe 5 ingredients that you put together, and then you put it in the oven for 45 minutes. I mean, I don't think I can ruin it. But
Kathy Weaver says that even she has made banana bread, so that tells you.
woo-hoo, okay, Kathy. And Karen's not a baker. It's like, okay. And yeah, and I think we probably all have particular things we might bake or whatever, bake or cook that we know we can do, but don't stretch out. Bill, who now, as I've told y'all, has sort of taken over the cooking. Oh my gosh, he made the, and he does it, he has to do it by exact recipe. So when y'all are talking about by the recipe, and he watches the video multiple times, and then he has it on, you know, which is really cool. Go back, you know, you can find anything you want, any recipe, cooking, anything on YouTube, honest to goodness. You know, how do you make whatever. So he made the Super Toscano
Yep.
from Olive Garden.
Yum.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. I have one bowl left that I'm gonna have for lunch today. So it's fun. So, and we can bring that right back to the light. Baking, cooking, sharing like that is a great way of being light. It's just, if you think about Jesus shared meals with people all the time on his journeys and walking, and it's such a way, I think it lets down barriers, people, you get more comfortable. So I think that's why we go to lunch together, right? You stop and you have coffee together, because it takes you that next step, I think, to keep thinking, and maybe I'm going to make a point of that. I've talked about it since we've been in this house, and that we really should have a couple of our neighbors just over, just out to the pool, for hamburgers or something, or how about desserts, whatever it is, just to take those relationships. We're good at hi and we talk, out in the driveway or out in the street, but to take that and that's another way that we can, take relationships, one step further. So
yeah, that does a lot. We actually have been living where we're at for about 20 years now.
Oh,
and
wow.
One of and that was an icebreaker. We called them porch parties. In the summertime, we would sit outside, get our chairs and sit and talk and eat.
Yeah.
And so there were several families.
Great way to know
There's
people.
only two of us left, two families left, but that was a bonding, and it was great because our kids grew up together, and it was just a lot of fun. So yes, food definitely brings people together. And then, like you're saying, sharing for the season, sharing that banana bread with somebody that lives in Kansas City, or
yeah. And how about somebody who lives right here in Las Vegas? And of course, if I had a peanut butter truffle, Dr. Laura, that'd be great. But
it doesn't travel well. That's the only
and
problem.
shipping doesn't work so well.
Yeah, it doesn't travel well.
Like,
So
oh my gosh. Oh, Karen says Pinterest is my fave. So
yes.
well, you guys, we just love it that you join us every week. We are at the top of the hour. It's always so fun. I look forward to what's going to be happening. We have one more Tuesday in December, so we will be here next week. But as we're looking forward to 2023 and what God has for all of us, so he's not going to leave any of us stuck. So if you stay stuck, that's your choice, but he's not going to leave us stuck. So if we're following where he wants us to be and looking how we can make a difference and taking this, it's not just about shining the light today or Christmas week. And, we were out just a little bit yesterday, and Bill was getting just a little not happy with what was going around. And I said, remember this Christmas, so he's a pretty happy guy, but it's like a couple of things really did not settle well with him. So, so sometimes we have to make those conscious choices to just release it and not get so upset, not to worry about it. It's just a moment in time, where somebody irritates you or whatever that is. But as we go into 2023, what things I would say, couple of things, be looking back at this last year and, what have you been doing, and what are those things that you want to keep doing that have been very productive or powerful, or, that's right. But what are the things you're going to tweak or shift or do differently? Not just in your business, but in your personal lives. What is it you'd like to make a change, and be thinking on that. And then I think maybe next week, well, I don't know, I don't want to commit so much, but in the next week or two, we'll be talking about your word of the year. And we do this every year. I have a couple floating around in my head. I haven't decided mine yet. So be thinking about what your focus, that word of the year that's going to keep your focus where you want it to be for next year. So be thinking ahead on that. I'm giving you a heads up. So any last words, Lisa and Laura?
Sure, I've got one. If you look up hashtag light the world, light the world, and it's a hashtag. That is a hashtag that's about daily devotionals that ask you to do something to light the world. So it's only during Christmas, and you can just Google what is light light. I cannot say anything. Light the World initiative. And you'll find you can sign up and it sends you every day during December what you can do to light the world. So,
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
or you can look up the hashtag and read about other people. So, and thank
Gotcha.
you for putting that in.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm so excited. I'm doing two things at once. This is like so cool.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to technology, that isn't something that happens a lot. So maybe I'm getting better. I'm
Yeah.
in my
She
learning
can be
curve.
taught.
What about you, Laura?
I would just like to wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Be blessed and enjoy the time with your loved ones and friends, because time is short and this is a very special season. And if you haven't made the commitment to follow Jesus, you might want to rethink that. Life is a vapor,
Oh, very true. Very true. Thank you. Thanks for that. So yes, everybody, we do wish you a Merry Christmas. And okay, all right. I'm trying to decide, should I share this? So this last week, I'm not going to say who, but a little child, I was talking to this little child and I said, so do you know whose birthday it is on Christmas? And he said, well, I don't know. And he looked at his mom and he said, I don't know. And I said, well, it's Jesus' birthday. He didn't know who Jesus was. And it just breaks your heart. So, remember as you're being the light that not everybody does. And, when I was a teenager, they were teaching in my youth that Christianity is only one generation away. And I doubted that. When they said that, I said, oh, that's impossible. How could that ever be? But where we are now in our world, compared to where we were when we all were growing up, it was the accepted thing. Everybody knew. They may not accepted him, but people knew who Jesus was. People went regularly to church. So life has changed. Everything's different. So as we're being the light, sharing who that light is when we get the opportunity is really an important thing. So Jesus is the reason for the season. It is Jesus' birthday. And we are just, what he did for us is just so amazing that he left the throne of glory to come step into a human body. It is just, it can just blow your mind away when you think of that commitment and the amount of love that it took for that. So share his word, share him, share your light, and just go out and be blessed and have a Merry Christmas. Thank you for being here. We love you guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas so much. Bye, everybody.